Hey, it's Avi from JustWriteMusic.com. It is so cool to have you here. This week, I want to share a tip with you that is crazy effective and crazy easy to execute. In fact, if you're a subscriber already, you may recognize it from my free guide, 7 Ways to Write a More Effective Melody. And if you haven't gotten that free guide already, totally cool, just go down to the website, JustWriteMusic.com. There's a link down in the doobly-doo. I call this super awesome trick, just, in case you haven't already read the title, the Octave Trick. Before we dive in, hit the subscribe button and bell below for more videos helping you get everything out of the way so you can just write music. That's not going to get easier to say. This is one of those tips and tricks that can just work basically anywhere in any genre and any style of music, any context whatsoever. And in my free guide, I share this within the context of using it for melodies, but in this video, I want to take that a step further. It's way easier than you might think, and I am crazy excited to share this really, really useful, really easy to execute, and honestly, like, a little bit infuriating with just how simple and effective it is, but let's get to it. Now, the first thing I want to do is go over how we can use this in a melody, for those of you who haven't checked out my free guide or are just about to, haven't quite gotten to it yet. Now, one of my favorite ways to utilize this in a melody is to take what I feel is the least effective note or the weakest note and move that up or down an octave. Now, what direction should you go, though? Should you go an octave up or an octave down? Here's a quick tip. If you see the contour of your melody moving up a lot, go an octave down. Vice versa works too. If you see that your melody is going down a lot, go up an octave. Okay, so here we have a really, really basic melody. This is literally just Ode to Joy by the Beethoven guy. We're going to apply some Octave Trick to it. Okay, so what we're going to do is take our least favorite note and we're going to change it right away. My least favorite note right here is kind of this F. We've already had it. We've already been in this register for a while. I just want to change things up over here. Cool. All right, I like that already. Okay, all right, already so much better. I think I even want to go further than this, though. I would even say, let's go up here and do that. I think that'll sound so much better and breathe a little bit of life into this. Notice how we kind of just exploded the range. Right? Suddenly we have this whole other thing to work with. Now, I also think this is a pretty unique case where we have a really moving contour. If you look, we're going up and then down and then up and then down a little bit, but we're staying well within this basically just this range of a fifth, right? We don't go below this C here in this melody. So because everything's so close and because we're kind of meandering a little bit, going either up or down is equally applicable in my opinion. I liked the contrast of going up here, making the downward motion here, up the octave. That seemed really cool to me because we're going down but going up to go down. I find little opposites like that really cool. We don't have to just stop there either. We can repeat these melodies in their entirety in different registers and in different octaves. Same thing. So you can have, one instrument do the melody, say it's a higher instrument, and then a lower instrument can repeat the melody as like a call and answer type of thing. And that's a really effective way to use the octave trick. It's so easy. You're not even changing anything. It's just copy and paste. We're like Bill of Glass or whatever. I don't know. I'm not gonna be that guy. I like to use the octave trick to also make descending lines a lot more fun, at least for me. So the way I execute this is to take a normal descending line, right? Say we're just going from C down to G. I would take the start on the C in the treble clef, the second space from the top, and then I would go up to a B, up on the second ledger line right above that high A, and then go down to a regular A where it would normally be in the descending line, and then go down to the G way below in the ledger line in the bass clef. You see, we're just going like boop, 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 boop type of thing, and I think that sounds really fun and really cool. You may not like it, and that's okay. Here's an example of me using the octave trick in a melody in a more melodic fashion in an art song that I wrote a few years ago. Now that we've taken a look at how we can use the octave trick melodically, let's take a look at how we can use it in our harmonies. Now, just like with a melody, we can use this for sure. I mean, if we couldn't, it wouldn't be part of the video, I guess. We can use the octave trick to make our harmonies more effective and our chord progressions more effective. Now, we can use similar logic here, looking for weaker points or points where we are just kind of dropping out of our interest is sort of tanking in the chord progression. But we have a lot more leeway here because the harmonic progressions are usually not the main focus, right? Usually there's a vocal melody or a solo melody or something that's normally going to be the star of the show. That gives us a lot of latitude in what we can do. That's both a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because it's not the star of the show. Maybe if we kind of screw up, it'll be a little bit less noticeable to the average listener. But it's bad because we can screw up easier. To keep things simple with this, just start by moving chord shapes themselves into different octaves and registers. Don't worry about changing up voices or anything just yet. That's kind of a whole other video. Actually, let me know if you'd like me to make that video, because that could be fun. You know where to let me know how to do that, where to do that, all the things down in the YouTube comment place. It's not going to be as easy to know when to use the octave trick for harmonies. How a songwriter or a composer treats their harmonies, regardless of the actual harmonic material, is indicative of how they view their craft and how skilled they are at their craft. Oh man, you guys should hear the thing that I cut before. It did not sound nearly that eloquent. Whew! Oh boy. Oh man. Remember that a lot of this is highly subjective, but what isn't subjective is listener fatigue. And it's inevitable that listeners are going to get fatigued at a certain register or a certain note even if you play it too much. By changing the octave and changing the register, you're effectively bringing in contrast and bringing in new information without actually changing any of the harmonic or even melodic material. That's a win. Changing the octave and changing the register of the harmonic progression, doesn't matter if it's the whole progression or just a single chord, it can be a really easy and effective way to bring in some new information to the listener, even when you're just recycling the same material. It's a huge win. Listen to how just changing the octave of this repeated progression can affect it for the better. Here's another example of changing up the harmonies with an octave from a piano trio that I wrote a couple of years back as well. Okay, so that was the octave trick being used for harmonies. What else could there be? Well, this is kind of encompassing both melody and harmony, but this is kind of the big one too. The next way you can use the octave trick is by varying your harmonies and melodies. This is honestly my favorite way to use the octave trick because anything goes. You can just mess with anything you want, and it's gonna sound cool as long as you maintain the integrity of the original material. The problem, though, is that it's also the most involved. A variation is essentially any change in harmonic or melodic or rhythmic material that is based on or building off of already present material. Here's an example from that four horns piece that I'm finally done with. variation, we can change the register of both the harmony and the melody, whether that's just a couple of notes or an entire phrase or a couple of chords in a progression or the entire progression itself. Just like how you can also change the register of this channel by hitting the like button below. I did it, Graham. Look at me now. I think it's important to make this kind of its own thing versus just kind of lumping it in with something else. And I chose not to make this a rhythm section because I find that, well, how do you change the rhythm in Octave? But rhythm is involved with variation. The big thing I want to mention here, the big takeaway that I want you to take away is texture changes. This is the big one here because you can get a whole lot of bang for your buck with just a simple texture change. And I'm talking like just doing block chords to doing arpeggiations. That's as simple as that. And this is so big and so useful because we really don't have to do all that much. Don't change the harmony, don't change the melody, but you can change, and you don't have to actually change the harmony or change the melody. Just take one of them, throw it up an octave, add an arpeggiation instead of block chords, throw in some different dynamics, and boom, you have a completely different sounding section with basically the same musical material. Now, pay attention to what I just said. To employ this, you have to change the texture and the octave. That's what makes it part of the Octave Trick video. Here's an example of varying the texture and the octave at the same time in a song cycle. In that song cycle that I wrote from a while ago with the Henley stuff. The William Ernest Henley, the old white guy from the 1800s. Those. Now, the sheer amount of options here can kind of be overwhelming, particularly with variation, because you can just basically do whatever you want. But I find that my best ideas tend to succeed from the thought, what if? Literally, like, I can't tell you how many times I'm just like, oh, what if I do this? That is usually when I come across something that I like a lot. Try not to think too hard about this. Just listen to your inner ear and follow it. Now, a neat little trick about our inner ears, though, is that they can sometimes have trouble remembering, right, things exactly, because our memories kind of suck like that anyway. But that actually kind of helps us with varying stuff, because our memory will still get the general idea right, but change some of the details. And kind of doing that over and over again creates this cool sense of developing variation that you see in a lot of really amazing pieces. So there you have it. That is the Octave Trick. This is one of my favorite things and tips and tricks and things to employ when I'm writing. And that's why I made a whole video about it and included it in my free guide, 7 Ways to Write a More Effective Melody, which you should go and get if you want, maybe. I don't know. It's free, so just, whatever, man. It's up to you. Whatever you want to do. I'm just glad you're here. Just glad you made it this far. Incredible. What did you think of the Octave Trick? Is its simplicity as infuriating to you as it is to me? Let me know down in the comments. Like I've mentioned multiple times, this tip comes from my free guide, 7 Ways to Write a More Effective Melody. You can go and grab it down in the doobly-doo. There is a link, or you can head to justwritemusic.com. That is where I give it away to people. Yeah. What? Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today and watching. Did I say watching? For watching. Do that again too. If you're here all the way at the end, you're one of my favorite people in the world, and that's really cool. So thank you so much. It means a whole lot. I'm Avi from justwritemusic.com, and don't forget to be awesome. Peace out.